Have you ever taken a step and wondered just for a second if your body would catch you? Helen Parker hadn't. Not until the day her legs gave way beneath her on the front porch. She'd walked across 1,000 times. No ice, no slippery leaves, just a quiet, sudden fall that changed everything. One fractured hip, 2 hospital stays, and a deep fear that followed her like a shadow with every step she took. She was 74, a retired schoolteacher, a proud grandmother of 5. She baked cookies on Saturdays and walked her dog Lucy every morning. But after the fall, even walking to the bathroom felt like crossing a minefield. And yet Helen didn't give up. Instead, she discovered something most of us were never taught, that the way we walk matters more than we ever imagined. Today, you'll learn what Helen learned. Not through grueling physical therapy or expensive programs, but through 7 simple, powerful shifts in how she walked. Subtle changes backed by science and used by older adults who've gone decades without a single fall. These aren't exercises, they're habits, a new rhythm for your body, a map to help you walk through life with confidence, grace, and stability. Because the truth is, falling isn't just about age, it's about awareness, it's about alignment. And yes, it's about reclaiming trust in your body one step at a time. If you've ever feared falling or feared what a fall might take away, this video is for you. Let's walk together. Let's begin. Helen Parker never imagined that something as ordinary as walking to the mailbox could change her life. It was a quiet afternoon in Oregon, sunlight pouring through the trees, birds chirping, nothing out of the ordinary. She took her usual path down the front steps the same way she'd done for 20 years. But this time her foot caught the edge of a slightly raised brick. In an instant, she was on the ground. No dramatic slip, no loud crack, just a sudden loss of control and pain. The kind that steals why. The doctors called it a fragility fracture. Common in people her age, they said. Nothing she did wrong, just bad luck and brittle bones. But to Helen, it wasn't just a broken hip. It was the beginning of a fear she'd never known before, the fear of falling. For weeks, she needed help just to get out of bed. Her daughter moved in. The mail piled up. Her world shrank to the distance between her bedroom and the bathroom. Helen, once proud and fiercely independent, found herself questioning. And then something shifted. During a quiet moment in her living room, staring at her unused walking shoes, Helen made a promise to herself. If I have to learn to walk all over again, then I'm going to learn the right way. What she didn't know then was that the right way wasn't just about strength, it was about awareness, intention, and a few powerful changes she'd never been taught before. The first of those changes began with her eyes. Helen used to walk like most people her age, eyes fixed on the ground, scanning every crack in the sidewalk, every pebble, every uneven patch. I thought I was being careful, she said. I thought if I looked down I could avoid danger. But ironically, that habit born from fear was what made her more likely to fall. Her physical therapist, a kind woman named Denise, watched her walk one afternoon during rehab. Helen, she said gently, you're looking for the problem in the wrong place. Then she introduced Helen to something called the 3-point gaze technique. It was deceptively simple. Step 1. Look about 10 to 15 feet ahead of you. Step 2. Every 10 seconds, lift your eyes to the horizon or to where you're headed. Step 3. Stay aware of your surroundings using your peripheral vision without moving your head. At first, Helen felt awkward, like she wasn't watching where she was going. But within a week, her posture improved. Her shoulders relaxed. She began to feel taller, lighter even. More importantly, she felt safer. Here's the lesson she learned. Looking down is about surviving. Looking ahead is about living. And that shift from fearful scanning to confident movement opened the door for everything that followed. Because when your gaze lifts, your posture follows. And when your posture shifts, so does your balance. But that's only the beginning. Next, Helen learned that it wasn't just her eyes that needed to relearn how to walk, it was her feet. The first time Helen tried the heel-to-toe walking technique, it felt almost silly. "I've been walking my whole life," she chuckled to her therapist. "Now you're telling me I've been doing it wrong." But as Denise gently guided her through each slow, mindful step, Helen began to realize something. Over the years, without even noticing, she had stopped using her feet the way they were designed to move. Instead of letting her heel touch down first and allowing the step to roll through the sole to the toes, Helen had developed a flat-footed shuffle. It was safer, she thought, less to trip over. But in reality, it robbed her of balance and made her gait jerky and unstable. Denise called it the tightrope effect. When your steps are stiff, small, and cautious, you're actually more likely to fall. So they practiced. Slowly, deliberately, heel, roll, toe. Helen walked across her kitchen floor, then her hallway, then her front porch. Each day the motion felt a little more natural. She noticed her knees hurt less. Her back didn't tense up as much. And most importantly, she began to feel like she could trust her steps again. The lesson, walking, isn't just movement, it's communication. Your feet are constantly sending messages to your brain about balance, rhythm, and stability. But only if you let them speak. And as Helen's feet relearned their language, another forgotten part of her body was ready to join the conversation, her core. Before her fall, Helen never gave much thought to her core. "That's gym talk," she used to say. "Sit-ups and six-packs, not for someone like me." But as Denise explained, the core isn't about crunches or vanity, it's about stability. It's the quiet center of strength that connects your upper body to your legs, keeps you upright, and helps you recover quickly when something throws you off balance. Helen was surprised to learn that as we age, we often stop using our core naturally. We let our bellies relax and our spines do all the work. That's when the wobble starts subtle at first, but dangerous over time. Denise introduced her to a technique called the zip-up, a gentle draw of the belly button inward and slightly upward, just enough to feel engaged, not rigid. No one could tell Helen was doing it, but inside it felt like someone had fastened a belt of support around her waist. At first, she had to remind herself to activate it. So she placed tiny red stickers around the house on the bathroom mirror near the stove beside the door. Each one whispered, "Engage your core." Within weeks, it became second nature. The lesson's strength doesn't always mean strain. Sometimes it's a quiet presence you carry with you, like a deep breath that grounds you in every step. And as Helen's core gently came alive, something else began to swing back into motion, her arms and the rhythm they'd long forgotten. For years, Helen walked with her arms stiffly at her sides, or sometimes clasped gently in front of her stomach. "It just felt safer," she said, "like I was holding myself together." But in doing so, she had unknowingly taken away one of her body's most natural balancing tools. Denise smiled as she watched Helen during their outdoor sessions. "Let your arms swing," she encouraged. "Let them help you." At first, Helen resisted. It felt awkward, almost childlike. But then Denise explained, "When you walk, your arms are meant to swing opposite your legs, left arm with right leg, right arm with left. This simple movement creates a natural counterbalance. It smooths your stride, stabilizes your torso, and even improves your ability to react if you trip or stumble." So Helen practiced. Day 1, exaggerate the swing just a little to get used to the motion. Day 2, find a natural rhythm that syncs with her steps. Day 3, relax her shoulders and let the movement flow. She was amazed. It felt like dancing, she laughed. Like I had rhythm again. The lesson, sometimes stability comes not from stiffening up, but from letting go, trusting your body's design. And with each step, now supported by her eyes, her feet, her core, and her arms, Helen was about to discover that what she wore on her feet mattered more than she ever thought. Helen always thought her slip-on shoes were perfect. Soft, cushioned, easy to slide into without bending down. What more could she ask for? They felt like pillows, she recalled. I thought comfort meant safety. But during one of their walks, Denise gently asked Helen to take off her shoes and walk barefoot across the grass. Just feel the ground, she said. Within a few steps, Helen understood the difference. Her feet were awake. Every tiny shift in the earth sent a signal up through her legs, helping her adjust and stay balanced. That's when Denise explained something called proprioceptive insulation, when thick, overly cushioned shoes block the communication between your feet and your brain. As we age, those nerve endings become less sensitive, so our shoes need to amplify feedback, not mute it. Helen swapped her plush slip-ons for a pair with a low, wide heel, a flexible sole, and secure laces. The result? She felt more grounded, more in control, even when walking on uneven terrain. She also began doing simple foot exercises at home, spreading her toes, picking up marbles, gripping a towel with her feet. I never knew my feet could feel strong, she smiled. The lesson's shoes aren't just protection, they're part of your balance system. The right pair can mean the difference between fear and freedom. And now that Helen's feet were finally supporting her the way they should, it was time to fix one more silent saboteur. The narrow steps that had turned every walk into a tightrope act. Helen had never noticed how close together her feet landed when she walked until Denise pointed it out. It's like you're walking on a tightrope, she said. Helen laughed at first, but when she watched a recording of herself walking, she saw it clearly. Each step crossed slightly inward, almost overlapping. No wonder she felt wobbly, especially on uneven ground. Denise introduced her to the widened base technique, walking with her feet placed directly under her hips, as if on two parallel train tracks. Not wide like a cowboy, she clarified with a grin, just aligned with your natural stance. It felt awkward at first. Helen kept looking down to check, unsure if she was doing it right. So Denise helped her tape two parallel lines down the hallway floor. Helen practiced walking the tracks every morning, 1 foot on each line, slowly and deliberately. After a week, something shifted. Her gait felt more stable. Her hips didn't sway as much. She no longer caught herself drifting side to side. It's like I finally had a foundation, she said. The lessons, sometimes small adjustments. Ones you can't even see, create the biggest changes. A wider stance isn't just physical space. It's psychological space. Space to feel safe again. And as Helen gained confidence with each steady, grounded step, there was one more challenge to overcome: the hidden danger that catches most people off guard, not while walking straight, but during the moments between movements. Helen thought she had made it. She was walking taller, more confidently, and even taking short strolls around the block with her neighbor. But then one morning, she nearly fell again, this time, not while walking, but while turning. She had pivoted too quickly to reach for the phone and lost her balance. Denise wasn't surprised. Most falls don't happen during walking, she explained gently. They happen during transitions. Transition zones are those small in-between moments, getting up from a chair, turning a corner, stepping onto a new surface. They're quick, often unconscious movements that require your brain and body to adjust fast. But as we age, our reaction time slows, our sense of spatial awareness dims, and we rush out of habit. That's why Denise taught Helen the 3-second pause. Before changing direction, Helen learned to stop just for a beat. During those 3 seconds, she stabilized her posture, engaged her core, and visually scanned where she was going. Then she'd pivot gently, lifting her foot and stepping into the new direction, rather than twisting while rooted in place. It changed everything. The lesson balance isn't lost in motion. It's lost in the moments we don't think we're moving. Helen began placing small red dots at key transition spots in her home, her bedside bathroom doorway, and kitchen corner. Each dot whispered pause. And as those moments became habits, so did her new way of walking. But Helen's journey wasn't just about avoiding the next fall. It was about integrating all 7 techniques into a rhythm of life. A way to walk through the world with grace, not fear. By now, Helen had collected a toolkit: a gentle gaze ahead, grounded feet, a stable core, swinging arms, supportive shoes, a widened base, and mindful transitions. But the real transformation didn't happen when she practiced each skill separately. It happened when she wove them together into a natural, flowing way of moving through the world. Denise called it walking as a system. Each technique reinforced the others. A proper gaze lifted Helen's posture, which made it easier to engage her core. A wider stance supported smoother transitions. Supportive shoes allowed her feet to communicate with her brain again. It was all connected. To help make it stick, Helen created a simple 7-day rhythm. On Monday, she focused on her gaze. Tuesday, heel to toe. Wednesday, core. And so on. Just 5 to 10 minutes of attention each day, not exercises, but awareness. She didn't need a gym. She just needed a hallway, a sidewalk, or even her living room. Within a month, she stopped needing reminders. The stickers came down. The techniques weren't steps on a checklist anymore, they were hers. Part of how she moved. Part of how she lived. The lesson: change doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. It can begin with a whisper, a pause, a shift, a breath. And as Helen began walking with confidence again, she realized this journey had never just been about walking. It had been about rediscovering her independence. And in the final chapter, the truth becomes beautifully clear. One sunny afternoon, nearly a year after her fall, Helen stood at the base of her favorite forest trail, the one she used to walk with her grandkids before she got hurt. This time, she wasn't holding on to anyone. No cane, no hesitation. Just steady breath, quiet confidence, and a body that finally felt like hers again. Step by step, she climbed the path. Gaze forward, heel to toe. Core engaged, arms swinging gently, shoes gripping the trail. Her rhythm calm, sure, alive. When she reached the overlook, she sat on the bench she hadn't visited in months. She looked out over the trees and whispered to herself, "I'm back." Helen's journey didn't require perfect health, expensive gear, or youthful strength. What it took was patience, consistency, and the willingness to walk a little differently. These 7 techniques didn't just prevent another fall, they gave her back her freedom. And now it's your turn. Which of these walking habits spoke to you the most? Have you or someone you love experienced a fall or near miss? Share your story in the comments. I read everyone, and your experience could help someone else feel less alone. If this video brought you clarity or hope, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next piece of practical, compassionate guidance on living well as we age. Remember, it's never too late to walk taller, steadier, and with more joy. One step at a time, you're not just avoiding falls. You're stepping back into your life,